Hey guys, Marsingin here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so we did not get any news on the global side today. However, we have gotten some news regarding what is coming next on JP. So this is something that, of course, we have been speculating for some time now, what with there being all sorts of speculation flying around about, you know, Tanabata next for global and all this kind of thing, leading up to the sync. One of the big things, of course, is physical Rosé, who came out as a global first. Him coming out on JP obviously gives us that opportunity for JP to be getting something that global already has, and therefore is not pulling ahead any further in terms of units that are out on the JP version that are not out on the global version. So officially announced in the news today on JP, we have the teaser for the new stage being added to the Rosé Dokkan Fest event. Now, the fact that this has come out today should mean that Rosé should come out on JP on the Wednesday the 29th, at least in terms of UK time for me. Now, his celebration brings a bunch of stuff that will be very interesting. The other thing that we saw is, of course, there are going to be some sort of tickets available, which is similar to what happened on Global. So weekend Dokkan Fest linked missions. Complete missions held from Monday to Friday and gain up to 7 gacha tickets every week. This seems to be replacing the normal weekend banner. So Monday the 27th to Friday the 28th of June, weekend Dokkan Fest linked missions. If you clear the missions, you can get up to 7 weekend tickets every week. You can use the tickets you collect to draw in the weekend Dokkan Fest to be held at a later date. Clear the missions and collect all the gacha tickets. So these tickets are going to be available every week for quite some time. So the interesting thing is, if Rosé, I don't know whether he's going to get his own standalone Dokkan Fest banner. I assume he is, right? That will be similar to the one that Global got. But using him on this image for the promotional art makes it seem like there's going to be a weekend banner for a couple of weekends at least over the space of between now and the next month, which will probably have just a bunch of the random general SSRs as it always does, but is going to have physical Rosé on it. And potentially other Dokkan Fest units as well, because it is a weekend Dokkan Fest banner. So that's very interesting. And of course, they did confirm here as well that with the original weekend tickets, so this is going to be held, this is the same thing, 7 weekend gacha tickets when you log in for the first time. This is the last gacha you can use the weekend tickets for. So this is the OG weekend banner. So this is not the one that's going to have Rosé on it. So if you've got any tickets that you've been saving up, because as these weekend banners have come back every now and then, a lot of the time they just have like all featured units that you don't need. So a lot of people save their tickets. This will be the last time you can use those tickets on these banners. So very interesting. Featured characters, again, not exactly anything particularly crazy. It does have all the LRs. It goes all the way up to LR, Ribrian, Kakunsa and Rosie. So I think the only yellow coin LR that's not included then for JP is the Ginyu Force, right? So, I mean, not bad for a free weekends summon banner. So this will be going away and obviously is being replaced by this one, which who knows what this banner lineup is going to look like. All we know, I guess, at the bare minimum is that it's going to include physical Rosé. So about physical Rosé himself. Now, physical Rosé, you guys know I've talked about him a lot since he came out on Global. I think he is massively underrated. I think people overhate this unit to a crazy degree, probably just because he is, you know, unarguably, as much as I like him, he is an inconsistent unit, right? Like, if you don't have a Rainbow Orb changer for him and then you don't get good RNG, you're not going to be getting a lot of Rainbow Orbs. He's not going to be doing a lot of additional attacks. But he is a character that can still look very, very good. As long as he's doing a bunch of additional attacks, even if they're normals, every one of his attacks is building up his attack and defense within the turn. And then any of them that are super attacks are obviously raising his attack and defense again because of his super attack effect. And then, of course, the other thing that people complain about, I mean, this is something that will be relevant in the game for a long time now for villain characters until they start doing whatever kind of domain update it is that they've talked about they're potentially going to do at some point, is that his domain is not the craziest one to use if you're running him on teams where you have like Zamasu, Broly, these other characters that have really strong domains that you're potentially going to want to use instead of this one, because his domain only buffs super bosses. So if you're running him on teams with some of these other extreme characters that aren't going to get that buff, they're not going to benefit from his domain. And of course, if you are running Broly somewhere in the mix as well, then Broly's domain is more important, because Broly needs his domain in order for him to actually transform, right? You can't transform with him if another character already has their domain active, which is super annoying. I'm hoping like a lot of people are thinking that they're going to make domains overlap, which I think potentially would be too OP. But the thing that they desperately need to do at a bare minimum is just make it so that domains can override each other, right? So you could use Rosé's domain, for example, transform into this version, and then on the next turn transform Broly, and this guy would stay transformed, but his domain would have ended, because that would actually be really good, right? Because then this guy in his transformed state would then be getting the buff from the Broly domain and be in his transformed state, so he'd be rainbow orb changing and all of that kind of thing. So that's what I would like to see from the domain update, but of course that's going to be further down the line anyway. Physical Rosé, like I say, I think he's very underrated. I know what's going to happen with him releasing on JP is that there'll be some people that realize he's better than they thought he was, and then there'll be a bunch of people taking him straight into like Blue Gogeta and then posting clips of him getting killed by, you know, surprise, surprise, the hardest hitting STR boss in the game when he's a physical unit. People posting clips of him getting killed by Gogeta Blue and being like, see, he's terrible, even though, you know, it's the hardest hitting type disadvantage boss in the game. But I think Rosé is good. I think he gets underrated. I'm not saying he's like the best TUR or anything like that, but I do think he is underrated. Whether or not you should summon for him is a whole nother story, because of course on JP we have no idea what's potentially coming next. You know, at least for global, we know that we're saving for the anniversary. We could be getting Tanabata soon. I suppose for JP, your next biggest concern really is the worldwide celebration, which is a couple of months away. So if you're a Rosé fan, you know, you've still got time to recoup some stones after this banner. But I can't imagine, with the reputation that he has, that a lot of people will be going crazy to summon for him, which, like I say, is a shame, because I do actually think he is pretty good. Now, one big thing about him is the other stuff that comes out in his celebration. So a couple of days after his release, we got a bunch of Easy A's for the Universe 6 characters. I know a lot of people are very excited at the prospect of these all now coming to JP. It's interesting because I've got a video going up later today where we're using Kefla on a team against Int Kid Buu, and even post super attack, she's getting absolutely destroyed by his normals. So Kefla is a unit that when she came out was a lot of people lauded her as being the best new Easy A. Let's hope all Easy A's that come out are on her level. And now even with like some of the new hardest content in the game, she is basically a dodge or die character. Now I don't mind that because she does tons of damage, right, with her supers, but that's something you have to bear in mind, that defensively she can still be a bit of a liability. But the other Universe 6 Easy A's all very good. I did a video doing one of the red zone stages with the Kale team yesterday, which is quite a fun run because we're using Kid Buu because it's on transformation boost, which is part of Kale's leader skill. So that rotation where you have like Kale and then Kefla and then Kid Buu giving them the support is pretty crazy. But that was the main thing that came out. Now remember, for global, this came out in the middle of a bunch of other stuff. So here's the Int Androids and then the Ribrienne, Rosie and Kakunsa, and then like a week later Rosé came out, and then we switch over to March, and then we had the Piccolo and Gohan. So this celebration did not have a part 2 LR, whereas on JP, the unit that usually comes out in this time slot does have a part 2 LR. So that creates a whole nother conundrum here now as to who is the part 2 LR going to be if the celebration is getting one, and then what's going to happen for global, because we would have assumed the whole point of Rosé coming out early and then coming out a bit later on JP was to help them facilitate the sync. But if JP's getting a part 2 LR that global didn't get, that means that's another unit that now JP has that global doesn't have, which doesn't really help towards the sync. So I do think there is a possibility, depending on what's next on global, if it's not the Tanabata, let's say we're getting Frieza next, rather than dropping the Ginyu Force, they could potentially drop the part 2 LR on both versions at the same time, which would make sense. And especially right before the anniversary, I think we could see a Super Bosses character. I was thinking about like whether it would be another version of Zamasu or something like that, but with all the different versions of Zamasu that we have, the LRs that he already has, I don't know if we would see another LR Zamasu. I mean, I guess we could see like a new Rosé and Goku Black, maybe where it's like base form Rosé, base form Goku Black. So it wouldn't be base Rosé, would it? Base form Goku Black. That could be kind of interesting. But yeah, it's hard to say because like there's a lot of characters on here. I mean, I guess a new Zamasu Goku. JP just had, Xenoverse just had the update with all of the Future Saga stuff where we have the like Goku in Zamasu's body after the body swap, which would be kind of interesting, as well as the like super villain Rosé. But even if he'd be differently named, I don't think they would do another version of Rosé as the Part 2 LR for Rosé, but that would be kind of funny. Super Bosses, of course, does include Jiren. It includes a lot of the Universe 6 characters. So I could see them doing a Super Bosses Part 2 LR. Imagine if we did actually get LR Kefla, which is a thing a lot of people wanted to see back in these last couple of celebrations already anyway. And that would fit pretty well into a celebration where the character coming out has a Super Bosses leader skill. And then, of course, there's also Corroded Body and Mind, which is a category that desperately needs some buffs. We could see maybe a new Janemba, and then in Part 2, the Tech 1 or the LR get their Easy A. We could see finally a new Baby, although we really want him to be a Dokkan Fest exclusive. Other than that, we're only looking at characters. Like, we're not going to get any heroes or like Xenoverse characters. Dabura seems a bit weird for him to drop now outside of a Buu Saga celebration, but who knows. There's a lot of options, so I might do a separate video talking about that in more detail, but let me know what you guys think down below. Is JP going to get a Part 2 LR? If they do you think Global will get it at the same time? And who do you think the character will be? And if you are a JP player, are you at all interested in summoning for Rosé? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.